And welcome back this morning. We have with us Dr. Alfred Sturgis. So glad to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Sandra. Good to be here.
Andrew, Dr. Sturgis is the conductor. We're so fortunate to have the conductor on this morning.
We almost need to wait for his direction.
Yeah, we
Better
should have let
conduct
him.
yourselves accordingly.
Okay, yes. Conductor of the Tar River Philharmonic Orchestra. Now let's start, Dr. Sturgis, by talking about the structure a little bit, because there's a Tar River Philharmonic, there is a Tar River Chorus, all of these. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, Sandra, I think that's right. This is a unique model as far as I know. I've not seen of anything like this in the country, in that we have the Tar River Philharmonic and Chorus Organization, which is the umbrella organization for several different performing ensembles, including the orchestra, the adult choir, as you mentioned, the wonderful award-winning children's choir that Patsy Gilliland conducts.
Absolutely.
They're fantastic. We have the youth strings, we have the swing band, which is very popular, and then we have the symphonic band. So there are these 6 or so ensembles that perform under this umbrella and complete a full season throughout the year. But we're very excited about this Friday will be the opening. The orchestra will do the opening concert for the season this
Wonderful. You'll be the conductor.
Friday. Yes, ma'am.
Now, let's talk about the makeup of this orchestra. It's people from our community, Raleigh, Greenville, Terry. Talk about the makeup.
It's a fully professional orchestra, which I think also is unique for a community of this size to be able to support a fully professional orchestra. So that's very special for Rocky Mount to have that. So they are players drawn from this area, as you mentioned, from Rocky Mount. They're also drawn from Greenville. We have a lot of ECU faculty who play with us.
Oh, wow.
We bring in folks from the Triangle area, as you mentioned, Raleigh, Durham, Cary, Chapel Hill, and all points in between.
We're so blessed to have this in our community. And, you know, in saying that, I love the theme this year. Love It Live.
It's a great piece. Love It Live, yes.
It's very creative.
Yeah, it is. And what that means is we actually have an opportunity to see a lot of live music in the community. And
That's
there's
right.
nothing like live.
No substitute.
No substitute for live music.
The power, the sonority of the music. Yep.
Well, not to get too technical, but there's actually been research shown that when you go and you watch a performance live, there are actually health benefits to it. It helps stimulate your brain, and it does it in a way that listening to it on a CD, it just is not even comparable.
Yeah.
And so just being able to experience it, not just being there, but being around people and being around
Sharing the experience socially, too.
Exactly.
Well, it fills the room, and there's also a visual element, too, that you miss when you just have your earbuds in. You really get to watch it happen. You get to watch the players dig in and make the music happen,
Right.
and the interaction that they have together on stage, and hopefully there's some interaction between conductor and ensemble, too.
Right.
That's the plan, anyway.
Well, you said something that really made me feel good. On your opening line, you said that this is very unique. You haven't seen anything like this in the country. And we have it right here in Rocky Mount.
I think the structure is unique. I don't know of any other that has so many different groups under the same performing arts umbrella.
Wow.
Well, what's great about that umbrella, is that because of that, it allows a community of our size to support
That's
all
true.
of those different organizations.
That's true, yeah.
So it allows us to have that and bring in different people and to have such a great cast of performances.
That's an excellent point, Andrew. Whereas one group might struggle, but the fact that we are all stronger because of the unity that we have.
Wow.
And
This is fantastic.
Now this first performance is the 26th. Correct?
Yes, the 26th.
Yes.
Okay,
This
October
Friday.
26th. Yes, I was trying to
This-
think.
this
26th
Friday.
year. What?
It's going to be very soon. It's going to
Yes,
be
this Friday coming up.
And
Through
you
me.
We're
feature
excited.
music from the West Side Story.
Yes, yeah. This is a great, colorful program because it's all music that tells stories. We have the West Side Story, the wonderful Bernstein score, symphonic dances from West Side Story. Then we have Scheherazade, Rimsky-Korsakov, the Russian composer.
Right.
Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, Scheherazade. Beautiful color, wonderful rich orchestration. And this is the story of from the Persian folktale 1001 Nights, where the princess or the Sultana Scheherazade, she has her life spared because of her ability to tell wonderful stories
Right.
every night. And so from her evil husband doesn't kill her because she can tell a great story. And the music tells a great story, too.
Oh, wow.
It features a violin soloist, our own concert master, Ann Leyland will be playing the soloist for that. And it's wonderful, exciting music. I think the other great thing about this program, it would be a good program for folks who might not know symphonic repertoire or might not have been to an orchestral concert before. Families, I think kids would enjoy this because the music is recognizable, it's colorful, and it's immediately accessible, I think, to the listener of a variety of backgrounds.
How important is it to bring children, young children, to these
I think it's
concerts?
extremely important to
To
expose them.
develop that appreciation early.
And in fact, we play every February for the last several seasons. We have been performing for the Nash Rocky Mount schools. Typically, fifth graders will be bussed into the Dunn Center,
How
and
nice.
we'll tailor a special program just for them, where there's a little bit of information, a little bit of music that is accessible
Right.
for them. And we hope that they will go home and tell their moms and dads, "Hey, I heard this really cool thing at the Dunn Center, and we want to come to these concerts."
Wonderful. Well, I'm just amazed. Now let's talk a little bit about you.
Oh, do we have to?
Oh, absolutely, because we're so fortunate to have you to be the conductor here. You are also the conductor of the Carolina Ballet. Wow, let's talk to some of your other accomplishments. You have, let's see, Raleigh Civic Symphony,
North Carolina Master Chorale.
Winston-Salem Symphony, National Opera Company. It goes on and on. Music director of the North Carolina Master Chorale, as you just said. Wow. Featured soloist with the Robert Shaw Festival Singers. And you perform on a Grammy-winning CD.
Yes,
So,
from
wow.
one of those Shaw French runouts, yes.
Wonderful.
Well, let's say you're getting ready for a performance. Where do you draw inspiration from?
First and foremost from the music, I think. I mean, it has to come from the score. It's the music that moves me. It's the
Right.
music that inspires me. And I think very much so, as importantly, from my fellows who are on stage with me, my colleagues who are there to bring this great music. There's a wonderful corporate energy that we bring to live music performance. Not only, I mean, I think it's a cyclical communication thing that occurs. It begins on stage with us, and then hopefully, if we're doing it right, it sort of cycles back into the audience, and you feel that energy. So I draw a lot of energy from my colleagues on stage, but I think we all start with the music. I mean, that's why we're there, because we want to perform these great pieces and we want to bring them to life.
Wonderful.
Well, one of the great things about the Dunn Center is that it is in a performance center. It's a little bit smaller venue, but it gives you a very intimate feel,
Absolutely.
and wonderful acoustics that just fill the room very quickly. And talking about that energy, what do you see? What is the difference between, say, a smaller venue and then something, say, on multiple thousands of seats? What is the difference, and which one would you say that you sort of really draw from when you're?
Well, I think there's excitement in both. There in a smaller house, there's the intimacy when you can really look out and see the faces, and I think that's especially appropriate for chamber music, chamber
Right.
repertoire, where you really feel like almost that the performers are on stage with you, sharing that experience. But then there's excitement, and I would say the Dunn Center is a relatively good-sized hall for concert, because if you look in the back of the hall, I mean that's a ways back there, so you don't.
Yeah.
While you don't necessarily have that intimacy, hopefully, if it's full enough,
Oh, yes.
you feel that support from the
Right.
audience, and you can hear it in the response and the applause. And it's kind of funny for me. I'm really the only one that doesn't get to see them because my back is to them. I see when I come out and take my bow, then I turn around and I'm looking at the players. So I have to sort of feel that there's some response there, at least in their applause, or just feel the energy that they're giving us as they're listening and hopefully enjoying the music.
Wow.
No.
I feel energy this morning.
Now tell us a little bit, and I'm sure I mean, I've never been in that role where you are sort of a head above everyone else. What does that feel like? I mean, it almost seems like you're maybe like the middle ground between the audience and the performers. What was that like? I mean, I would imagine with your first performance especially, it would be a very surreal experience.
Oh, it's terrifying when you first do it. Conducting is one of those things that you really can't practice. I mean, you can study, and you can study your scores, and you can get in front of a mirror and you can
Right.
get with a teacher, but until you actually get on the podium, with those live musicians, that's where the experience comes from, and that's where the training comes from. So the first couple of times you do it, it's really terrifying. And for me, as you mentioned early on in the interview, I came from a background as a singer, which is relatively rare, I think, for orchestral conductors. So I
Wow.
began as a singer. And my entrance into orchestral repertoire, it was even more foreign to me. So I tried to bring to that experience the strengths that I had as a musician. If I understood line, vocal line as a singer, I would try to convey that to the orchestra. I don't try to tell a violinist how to play their instrument because they're
Right.
infinitely more qualified at that than I am. But what I try to do is express my musical ideal for them. And it is a humbling experience, and it's also a very exciting experience. I love being a part of it, and I love the collegial aspects of it as well.
Well, now when it comes to
Wonderful.
conducting, I mean, how do you train? It's something I've never done. How do you train to do that? I mean, how do you get to that point where you say, okay, this is something I would like to pursue, and is it something that, like you said, you just get up and you just have to practice? Tell us a little bit about that.
You learn technique, and you work with teachers, and you learn basically sort of what the hands are supposed to do. But what you develop through experience is understanding how to communicate what you as a musician might be feeling inside, and what your sort of musical or best ideal for that performance might be, or for that piece of music. So you have to study a lot. You have to get inside the score a lot. You have to know what's on the page, so you know how to bring it to life. And I think certainly listening a lot, going to concerts, watching other conductors work. So really the easiest part of it, I think, is just figuring out what the hands are doing. You know, that anyone can learn to do that. It's
Right.
learning how to then convey that to the players. I mean, that's sort of the basic language that we use, but then you have to learn to use words also to express the ideas, in addition to what you're doing with the nonverbal, which is the technique, the baton. So it's a full palette of skills. And I think, if you ask me what is the ideal, I mean, who is the ideal? It's so different. It's unique to every individual, because it's a personality too. I mean, if you think of someone like a Leonard Bernstein, for example, the
Right.
great West Side, so he was very flamboyant on the stage and very,
Oh, yes.
I mean, jumping around. And then others are very subdued and do it more through control. And like the great German conductor Herbert von Karajan was very, sort of inside himself with his
Right.
eyes closed. And so you have those extremes. And so I think it's important for a conductor not to try to imitate, but to try to find their unique voice. And what is it I want to say, and what is the way that my body can best express that?
That makes sense.
And of course,
Okay.
the players they feed off of that.
Hopefully, yeah.
Is that sort of gives them the direction that,
Yeah.
that you want them to go,
Yeah.
and gives them whatever level of freedom, but to stay within the piece. And
Right, yeah.
Whatever that entails.
I like to think that hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, the players are responding empathetically
Right.
to what I'm asking, either through the gesture or through the eyes or through the intent.
Right. You have 2 children.
Yes,
Are they involved in music?
they are. My son is actually a composer, living in Asheville now and writing.
Really?
There, yeah. And my daughter
Wonderful.
is not doing music right now, but she was very active in music and theater in high school. They both were, in fact, singing in the choir, and my son plays a variety of instruments. And so that's been kind of
Wonderful.
fun to see. And it's nothing that we as parents said, oh, you have to do this because I'm
Right.
doing it. We just, again, as you mentioned early in the program, we exposed them to music at a very young
Right.
age, and they were fortunate in our household because they went to a lot of concerts, obviously,
Right.
of a lot of different varieties, and just to see how they're drawn to it.
What about your wife?
Well, interestingly, we met in singing together
Oh,
in the
really?
college choir.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we sort of fell in love on a European tour in college, and
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, you bring up a great point about exposing young people to music,
Mhm.
and like you said, they're drawn to it, and people are drawn to music in very different ways. Some
Mhm.
people want to get very involved and pick up an instrument or sing, and some people want to sit back and take it from a very different perspective. But it's music is like a language, and the way that it helps us function, the way it helps our brains work, and the benefits it has, especially at a young age,
Mhm.
going into adulthood, like what I think you said is so important, giving them the opportunity to be exposed to it.
Exactly.
And then seeing how they respond to it, because it makes a tremendous
They might
difference.
never know otherwise until that special place has sort of been touched in them when they hear
Right.
something and it really excites them.
Mhm.
I suppose there was that moment for me somewhere in my youth, although I can't put a finger on it, but I suspect it was singing at a very early age
Right.
in school choir. And that's what made me think. And listening to records in my parents' home, listening to all styles of music, not necessarily a lot of classical, although they had that. But it was more sort of the old popular and jazz standards that I sort of really fell in love with,
Right.
and then sort of grew from there.
Well, did want to remind everyone, October 26th, this
Mm-hmm.
Friday, you need to get out to the Dunn Center. It is the first in a series of concerts, Love It Live. Dr. Sturgis will be out there bringing us. Tell us a little bit more about the show one more time.
Well, we have Rimsky-Korsakov, Scheherazade, we have West Side Story, Bernstein, and then we have our featured young artist competition winner, a young violinist named Roman Lynn, will play the first movement of Brahms' Violin Concerto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great,
Yeah.
a real blockbuster program.
And that's this Friday at the Dunn Center. So you don't
7:30,
wanna miss it.
7:30.
It is. But this is one of 3 holiday concerts. November the 8th, I want to go ahead and mention these. November 8th, Tar River Symphonic Band will be at the Dunn Center, 7:30. We'll talk about that more. Just want to mention those now, though. Because you might want to go ahead and buy a package. You can get a package. We have these at the station if you'd like to pick one up.
Love It Live. And you can go online, tarriverloveitlive.com.
Absolutely. You can get a package with all 3 tickets, or you can just buy one at a time,
And if you
however
go
you
into
prefer.
the debate, you can pick up your tickets while you're out there.
While
at the
you're
box
out there,
office.
go ahead and
So,
get them.
Or at the door before the concert.
door.
Absolutely.
concert.
You
So,
can get them
yeah.
right there that evening.
We'll make it easy for you.
Absolutely. November 30th, they're having their 3rd one. The Tar River Children's Chorus is going to be at First Baptist Church. That's not going to be at the Dunn Center, First Baptist Church. So that is a 3-part concert series. And guess what? They're going to do this again in the spring, starting in March. So you'll be back.
Yes, we'll be back. Absolutely.
Okay. Don't forget this Friday evening, 7:30, the Dunn Center. Get your tickets. Get your tickets now for your favorite seat. I know a lot of you have your particular seat that you like to sit. If you don't have, well, I don't think these are included in the series, but for your favorite seat, go ahead and get your tickets. So look forward to seeing you. And also, you'll get to see Dr. Al Sturgis as well.
Thank you,
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
Thank you both.
much.
Yes,
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this on the Don Bullock Chevrolet Morning Show, best talk show on local television.